Good evening. My name is Jeff Thielman. It's March 26, 2026, and I'm calling to order the meeting of the Arlington School Committee. Tonight's meeting of the school committee is being conducted in person and through the use of Zoom. This meeting is simultaneously being broadcast on ACMi. The meeting is being recorded because we have a member who I believe who has indicated that they will be participating remotely. All votes will be taken by roll call unless that person doesn't join remotely. Persons wishing to access the meeting using Zoom may find information on how to do so on the town's website. The posted agenda and supporting materials for this meeting are also available on the website. We're going to begin with public comment by Ms. Miller. Cheryl, come on up, please.
My name is Cheryl Miller. I live at 10 Thesda Street in Arlington. I'm an autistic parent of 2 students with disabilities in Arlington. I would like to speak about special education, the school budget, and the override. Today, I had an IEP meeting for one of my children. He hasn't been to class since September. Although he is intellectually capable, no one at Addison has any idea how to help him learn. Everyone agreed that he is not making progress. So what was the solution that Arlington Special Education proposed? To keep doing the same things that have not worked, and to blame us as parents. This is APS's idea of collaboration with families. This is APS's idea of a free, appropriate public education for students with disabilities. A far cry from the pretty picture that the Yes campaign is selling. I have had children in APS for over 10 years. During that time, APS has overridden our recommendations as parents repeatedly. Every single time they have been wrong. Every single time it has led to regression, damage, broken trust, and trauma. You know what else it has led to? APS spending more money. My older child is out of district, not because of anything intrinsic to her, but because her needs were so neglected for years that she had regressed to the point of missing almost 2 years of school. If her needs had been met earlier in a neurodiversity affirming way, she would be attending Arlington High School right now. Instead, she may never graduate from high school. And the town is paying private tuition and transportation costs, 2 of the biggest uncontrollable costs I heard Dr. Homan identify when talking about the budget. APS will likely be paying these costs until she is 22 years old. That is 6 more years. And now the same approach is being taken for my son. Repeated ignoring and overruling of parents led to him becoming chronically absent. Everyone agrees that he has made no progress whatsoever this year, and the plan is to do nothing. This leads to exactly the same place as it did with my daughter. Regression, damage, trauma, potential wasted. Money wasted. Money thrown away due to a sick culture that Dr. Homan is unwilling to heal. The school committee is pushing this override. What you should be doing, if you care about costs, if you care about students, if you mean any of the pretty words you use in pushing the override, is holding Dr. Homan accountable. That accountability has been completely absent. If the override fails, it's on you, and it's on Dr. Homan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller. The AA rep, Ms. Keys, is going to be a little late tonight. Our AHS rep is Sophia DeStephanis.
You got this.
Yeah,
DeStephanis.
Oh, man, I can't even get anything right. Do you have any updates on the high school?
Yes, we have a multicultural night coming up on Thursday, April 9th, which perfectly overlaps with the school committee meeting. So exciting. Which is hosted by lots of affinity groups and clubs, and there'll be lots of music, dances, and food. Really fun event. We have Jane Eyre, our musical production, happening tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. I can't go to it, unfortunately. Very sad, but seems like a really fun event. Our polar plunge for the Special Olympics is on March 31st, and we have met our fundraising goal of $7,500. So that'll be pretty fun. It's on a Tuesday, X Block. Should be cool. We have MCAS testing throughout the school. Luckily, I don't have to do it anymore. We've passed that time. And spring sports have started. Tryouts are over, and so the teams are pretty much set in, and we're off to a good season. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And one of these days, I'll speak better. Okay. So let's see. First item in the agenda is Ari Thaper from Addison Middle School, and you are going to talk about well, tell us what you're going to talk about.
And Ari, let me know when you need me to switch the slide, and I'll move it along, okay?
I'll let you know.
And just introduce yourself for our...
Yeah, I'll be sure. Hello, everyone. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Ari Topper. I'm a student at Addison Middle School, an 8th grade student, and now I'll start my presentation. First, I just want to say, right now, everyone is already using AI in their day-to-day lives, but most people don't understand its impact that is had on the environment. So that's why I'm here today, to present Power Tracker, a Chrome extension I designed to show ways to reduce digital waste. Next slide, please. Oh, there's an animation. So I'll dive deeper into who I am quickly. As I said, I'm an 8th grade student at Addison, and I'm passionate about AI, sustainability, debate, fishing, as well as basketball. And my mission is to help make digital energy visible and to help people use AI sustainably. Today, I'm here with 2 main asks. I'd like to make Power Tracker available to all teachers. On top of this, I want to get your help in designating a faculty member or guide to help facilitate my next steps. And third, I know it sounds cheesy, but I want to make the world a better place. Now, over the summer, I noticed an issue with AI. Right now, everyone uses it for daily tasks, such as writing emails, studying. For students, they use it for studying, and much more. Now, a big cause of this AI energy overuse is due to these things called tokens. To simplify what tokens are, they're sort of like units of text that AI processes. They're similar to words, and every prompt is broken down into tokens. To help you understand this, each token consists of 2 to 3 words. And the more tokens you use in your AI prompt is the more energy you're putting into AI, and that leads to more energy that can sometimes be wasted. And what Power Tracker does is it helps this impact become more visible. Next slide, please. Right now, AI is a leading driver of climate change. And as I said previously, the main driver of AI energy waste is tokens. Now, my goal today isn't actually to scare people away from AI. However, it is to help people take action, and first to visualize what AI's impact is so that taking action can become easier. Next slide, please. Now, what is Power Tracker? To mitigate this impact that AI has, I designed a Chrome extension that can show real-time energy usage while you're browsing. It shows you your usage in watts as well as in light bulbs. For example, if you were browsing on ChatGPT, it would tell you you are using, say, 60 watts of energy, which is equivalent to around 7 light bulbs, which could power around 7 light bulbs. It tracks all websites that use energy, so not just AI. And the main idea behind the extension is to educate users on AI energy reducing strategies. Next slide, please. Now, the main feature I've designed within Power Tracker is a prompt generator, which optimizes prompts. And what this does is it shortens AI prompts by reducing tokens, as I mentioned earlier. What this does is it prevents people from adding extra data into their prompts that they don't need. Because you're sending less energy into ChatGPT, the prompt's intent and meaning is preserved. you get the same outcome that you want, except this time you're saving just a little bit of energy that adds up over time, meaning that you're saving more energy the more you use it. On top of this, it shows your energy saved over a long time period as a graph, so you can see your energy being saved over a day, a week, a month, etc. Next slide, please. So at OMS, Ms. Rubino was kind enough to let me present Power Tracker to the faculty, and a lot of the teachers were able to try out Power Tracker. And here's an example of a teacher who really loved the extension. She really liked the notifications that Power Tracker gives you, which are basically tips on other ways you can reduce AI other than reducing prompts. Next slide, please. My final ask today is just to make Power Tracker available to all teachers across Arlington Public Schools first. I would actually like this to remain completely optional as an initiative, and I don't want any added workload onto teachers. That's why the extension works quietly in the background. Now, with approval from admin, I would like to run this as a 4-week pilot first. What the extension would do during this 4-week time would collect anonymous insights. For example, the amount of energy teachers are saving overall, the amount of tokens they're saving, and some feedback that teachers would like to give. I'd like to mention that there will be no personal data collected, and after this I will share results with Arlington Public Schools to help determine my next steps. Finally, I will also be designating a mentor or a guide to help me facilitate my next steps as well. Thank you all for listening. That's all.
Wait a minute, we're going to have questions. Thank you, that was brilliant. Really, really cool, and really admire you and the team that helped you. Let's get some questions. Mr. Schlickman must have a question, come on.
Okay, go ahead. So you're telling me, and I didn't know this before, if I put my last name in ChatGPT, 1 token?
Not exactly. So tokens are like 2 to 3 words, so that would be, say, 1/3 of a token. So if you put your last name into ChatGPT and click enter and say send it as a prompt itself, that would be wasting a little bit of energy, but it would still be more like energy that you don't really need to waste. So an example of words that you could reduce in your prompts are things like please, thank you, filler words like etc.
I never say please or thank you to you.
I do. It's so polite when it asks me questions that I say it back.
But I'm trying to get a handle on it because I've got a fairly unique last name, so that probably don't need to use my first name or to type in Arlington or to try to narrow it down that way.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're the expert.
You can type in your last name when introducing yourself, but if you are gonna talk to ChatGPT, I'd say that you don't really need to tell it your name or last name. You can just get straight to the point. And you're like, I need this for this, or.
Well, I'm an elected official. I want to see what other people are saying about me.
Mr. Carden.
If I wanted to use it, I'm not really part of APS. Is it available somewhere for me to use?
Yeah, of course. It's available on the Chrome Web Store right now. If you just search up Power Tracker, then it should be the first thing that shows up. So.
Great, thanks.
Will that take tokens to find it?
No.
Extension.
Dr. Allison Ampe.
So this is cool. I think the only comment I have is if we roll it out to all APS, I'd like it to go through IT just to make sure we're covered with security and everything.
Right, yeah. I'm talking with Dr. Pimpercar currently as well in IT. So, yeah, that's why I'm trying to get it through admin approval first. But on top of that, I'd also like to find a mentor to help me, like a admin or a faculty mentor, just to help me with my next steps as well.
My turn?
Yeah, of course, I'm sorry.
I have
yes.
so many questions. I won't ask all of them right now.
Yeah.
So explain to me where does the energy waste happen? Is that at the data center? Is it more local?
So it's not as much local, but for example, Meta, they have really large data centers in more non-urban areas that people living near those areas, they can't really get running water in their house because of all of the water it takes to kind of cool down the server. So that's where the main sort of energy wastage is.
And how is it that if I write an inefficient prompt, that requires, is it just that it's data processing power to
Yeah, you
understand
can
the
think
prompt?
of AI as if it has its own mind. So if you're talking to someone and using a lot of words, then there's more information for them to kind of think about. So by using less words with AI, you can talk to it as a robot. You can just say I something. You don't need to use any words that are unnecessary. Like the word is, you don't need to use words like that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And then if we were to, so the app tracks for an individual, kind of what they're saving by
Yes.
using the prompt. Okay, so if we were to do it as an organization, would we be able to sort of track, or would you be able to tell us what we managed to save over a period of time?
That's kind of, so that's what my goal is, to just see across all of the teachers across Arlington Public Schools, if they each use the extension, so much energy total would be saved. That's what I'm trying to see, and I would share the results with you all, of course.
Awesome. Ari, this is Mr. Schweitzer. He is the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Operations and IT work very closely together. Ms. Primferkar oversees digital learning, so she works with all the apps and stuff that you all use in classrooms.
Right.
But IT would have to enable the extension. So at some point, maybe you can reach out to Ms. Diggins, we can get something on the books, and maybe you can talk to Mr. Schweitzer about what your next steps would be from
Absolutely,
a technical point of view. Does that work?
Sounds great.
Thanks
Yeah.
for telling us about this.
Make sure you
Cool.
protect your intellectual property.
Yeah.
This is yours, man. You built it.
This is really neat.
Great.
Oh, yeah, just one last thing. I will be participating in a STEM Fest on May 30th, I believe, where I'll be showing this extension kind of in action. So I'll be taking a bit of water and I'll just be showing you a physical, just to help you visualize it better instead of a slideshow. It'll be more physical at an actual STEM Fest.
Where's that happening?
That's happening at, I think, Charles Museum of Industry and Innovation. Yes, yeah, that's...
Well, good luck.
Very
Thank you.
impressive. Thank you.
you.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Can I just?
Oh, yeah, another question.
Well, no, it's not. It's more for this designated faculty mentor guy. Is your connection to Mr. Schweitzer sort of this next step?
Maybe
process?
from a technical point of view, we would
Okay,
need to enable it
great.
that way. And then I guess once we know kind of what's involved, if we needed to link up with somebody else, we could do that.
Great.
So that you have someone you can go to as your point person.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Really impressive. Okay, thank you. Next is the civics curriculum presentation. Come on up.
All right. While they come up and get settled really quickly, I thought it might be nice to hear about our 8th grade civics program because this program's been in place for all of my tenure. The project rolled out the first year, the 8th grade civics project that happens at the end of the year. And we've had lots of students come before us to talk about their projects over the years. And I know a number of you have participated in Civics Day. And I think the very diligent work of this incredible 8th grade civics team has resulted in some big wins for 8th grade civics in Arlington. And I think we see evidence of that all the time when we have incredible students like Ari come tell us about the things they're developing. So I will hand it over to Mr. Kozich, our spectacular director of History and Social Studies and the 8th grade civics team, to talk a bit about the programming that they're working on right now.
Great. Thank you all for having us tonight. Most of the time is going to be spent having the wonderful teachers of the 8th grade civics program speak to you a little bit. You can go to the next slide. Just to give you an overview, right now we have almost 500 students at OMS taught by 5 content teachers and additional support teachers in special education and multi-language learners. You see Eric Bakke all the way to the left, Charlie Livingston here, Mary Kate Mazzetti, and Olivia Phillips. Todd Sundstrom is not able to be here tonight, but obviously would like to be as well. The civics program, of course, was really started primarily because of the civics framework that was established by the Mass Department of Education. And we always have a civics day, which some of you have participated in, to kick off the civics program. And what you'll see as we go through each of these slides, and we talk about some other things as well, is that one of the key components of the civics program is the relevance and authenticity that comes through as students are learning content, but then applying their knowledge in real and authentic ways. If you could go to the next slide. So the teachers are going to talk about what they have felt is the success of the program.
Hi. So earlier this school year, the five of us, so us and Todd, we discussed structures and resources that help us be successful as a 5-person team. And so we think that the following 5 things allow us to work together effectively and ultimately benefit our 8th graders. So the first thing is common planning time. The 5 of us meet once a week, well, once a cycle, but that's every 4 days, so it's once a week. And so during these meetings, we discuss where we are in the curriculum. We make sure we're all around the same spot and working through the same unit. We talk about new things that we're trying and what has worked and what hasn't worked, and tweaks that need to be made before the next person tries it. We are constantly sharing resources with each other, especially about current events. And we use the time to plan civic-specific events like Civics Day, which is April 17th. Everybody should come. And our project showcase that we do at the end of the year. This was particularly helpful to me last year because I was new to the district, and it allowed me to come in and immediately feel like I was a part of the team. And obviously I still feel that way. And so common planning is invaluable, and we are very grateful for it. So thank you.
I was here 6 years ago addressing the school committee about potentially launching the new civics curriculum. I think that was the last time I talked with the school committee. So it's a great opportunity just to thank you for your support. I know there's a lot of talk going on about the budget and very difficult decisions to be made. And you probably don't get enough thank yous for all of that work. And especially for our team, I know that the professional development that the district has offered us has really made us work best as a team. The past school year, we were able to do, through Primary Source from Watertown, a day where we all got to go and be learners together. And it's the best way for teachers to connect as a team is to be able to go through, first of all, just getting to sit down like students again is really great as a teacher. And being able to do it together with a new team melding together was really invaluable. We also, through the department funding, have been able to do days in the summer before the start of the school year. We've had 2 days where we've met together and been able to plan out our units, reconcile some things from last year that we needed to change, and just make sure we're all communicating together and on the same page about what we're going to be doing going forward through the year. And then it makes that the shorter times that we have together through common planning much more meaningful because we had those longer days together in the beginning of the year to get some of the big things out of the way. So I personally greatly appreciate your support in those regards, and I know that as a team, we all greatly appreciate your support and fighting for the funding and allocations that we need to be able to continue doing this work.
Hi. And I think building on what Eric just said, when it comes to our curriculum and our unit structure is really cohesive across all 5 of our classrooms. And each of those units really closely aligns with the frameworks, the skill and the content frameworks that the Massachusetts curriculum puts out for us. And we spend a lot of that time in the professional days in the summer tweaking and reflecting, as Eric just mentioned. And I think something else that's really special about our cohesive units across the classrooms is it enables our special education teachers to share resources and scaffolds so that a lot of our students are able to be supported in similar ways, and our special education teachers who don't often at the Audison get a ton of time to collaborate together in certain subject areas have that opportunity. And having similar curriculum year after year also helps our MLL teachers provide the best possible supports for our students. And then I think when we look at assessments, each unit we're offering students a variety of ways to demonstrate their knowledge, speaking, visually, through traditional assessments, often more depending on the unit, depending on the teacher. We don't all offer the same assessments every single unit. And then finally, throughout the year, we do offer students the opportunity to practice MCAS-style questions so that they build their confidence as we kind of roll into that test. We've been doing that all year, and we're kind of closing in on that now. And we're hoping to continue to build their confidence as that day approaches. I think APS in particular has afforded me the opportunity to work with a statewide committee called the Civics MCAS Assessment Development Committee, which is a statewide group of teachers that meets with the creators of the MCAS test to revise and review all of the questions that go into the question bank for the Civics MCAS test. So that has allowed us as a group to kind of understand more deeply what the state is assessing the students on, and it's enabled me personally to participate in a process that has been really rewarding and made me feel like I am giving back to students across Massachusetts, and I'm really appreciative of the district for that opportunity.
Okay, don't expect me to be as well-spoken as these guys. No, for my part, the co-teaching is fantastic in the district. I mean, I know Liz can speak to this. My co-teaching partners, the fact that they're able to be in the classroom with me, so I work with the ML and co-taught, and so for two of my classes, they're 25 and 26 students. I have another teacher in there with me. And we are on equal planes, and the kids look at us that way. And the fact that they are able to have two capable teachers in the room for them is awesome and really helpful to be able to communicate some of the stuff we're learning about. On top of that, I just want to give an example from today of just how fantastic some of the co-teachers we have are. So I've been running a mock trial in my classroom. So, I respect the gavel. I also have one currently in my class, yes. We had a couple kids bang it today. It was, but anyway, so I've split them up into roles, and unfortunately we had a couple of students out. And so I was kind of in a pinch. I was trying to figure out, how are these roles going to be filled, because they were some key witnesses. And so, we needed these witnesses to, testify. And so, of course, I went to my trusty ML teachers, Jess Pulzetti and Kalina Akeson, and I asked, hey, would you guys mind stepping in, playing these key witness roles? And they were completely enthusiastic, just super down to take a part in it. And their enthusiasm, for one, it was infectious, the way they, embraced the role. And also they were teaching kids with the way they played this role about, how it works in a trial, and, it's not just about what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. And so all this is to say, we have awesome co-teachers, and they make my life so much easier, and they really help us, achieve success with our students.
Next slide, please. So, just a little bit more about Civics Day and the kinds of activities that students are engaging in. What you see, the picture on my left here is Representative Garbely, who was our keynote speaker last year, and all the students came into the Wood Gym, heard from him. He did an amazing talk, and then they had incredible questions to ask him about his service to Massachusetts, to Arlington, and the issue of politics in the state. The slide on or the picture on the right, as you can see, is probably the blue gym there. But the wonderful part about that was it was a mock town hall. And so we had actually two town halls going at the same time, one in the Wood Gym and one at the Blue Gym. And each legislature, if you will, had to pass the warrant that was student-driven and student-led. And we had the town manager there who was running this, and another dedicated Arlington citizen, former school committee member. And the warrant, it turned out, failed because only one chamber decided to pass it. So these are the kinds of authentic, real-world experiences that students are getting at Ottoson. Next slide, please. And then by the end of the year, they have decided, after going through this process of Civics Day, learning all the material that the teachers have taught them, to develop a civics action project. And you can see some of the examples of this from last year, one on affordable housing, there are others on environmental issues, many issues that students are concerned and care about. And you may have gotten some emails from our students asking for information. But these are the kinds of experiences that students have that help them apply what they're learning in a context. Next slide. And as you can see, with the MCAS scores, we were number 6 in the state, and so we're really proud of those results. Of course, MCAS scores are not the be-all and end-all, but they are a measure of some level of success. And I did a little deeper dive into this, and of the 50 largest districts in the state, we were actually number 1. So, and you can see some of our peer districts are up there. If you go to the next slide, in terms of our focal groups, of course, we are not doing as well as we would like. Students with IEPs and low-income students, if you could go to the next slide, MLLs and Black and Latino students. And however, these are our challenge areas. These are the focal groups that we are working to, of course, bring up their level of achievement on the MCAS score, but more importantly, their understanding of civics and their ability to participate in our democracy. If you go to the next slide. However, if you look at some of our peer groups and across the state, for example, Black and African American students, they are meeting and exceeding at a much higher rate than many of our peer districts and, of course, across the state. Next slide. For Latino or Latina students, again, meet and exceeding. We are, again, much higher than many of our peers. Brookline is close, but we're still above them. Belmont, we did not have enough data in order to have scores. Next slide. For special education, again, meets and exceeding. Again, Arlington is at the top of some of our peer districts, with Lexington close behind. And then finally, if you look at low income or meet and exceeding, again, although Lexington beat us in this case, we are close behind, and again, far out achieving the state level, and as well as many of our peer districts. So again, this is all due to the wonderful teaching of the teachers here, and you heard about the co-teachers as well. We aren't resting on our laurels. We are definitely looking at this data, seeing which ways we can improve through our common planning time, through the professional development that's being offered, and of course through the support that you all are giving us to achieve those results. Questions?
Thank you very much, Michael. Any questions?
It's not a question so much as a comment. Thank you for presenting that data. I think it's really compelling, the work that you all are doing, and really highlighting the gaps that you're trying to kind of fill, particularly with some of the students that you brought up. So I think it's great that you're thinking about that, and also highlights how important some of these support teachers are. So I appreciate you all mentioning that. And it just for somebody who participates in Arlington's, civics and across a lot of domains, I think it's so important, and something that could even be introduced district-wide at a younger age. I know Hardy does has started to do annual field trips for fifth graders to the Kennedy Center, and they do this really interactive experience where they have them perform the duties of Senate with a specific initiative, and it's amazing to see how engaged those students are. So yeah, I commend your work, and if anything, it would be amazing to see this kind of introduced at a younger age for students.
Thank you for actually saying that, because as we speak, we are in the process of revising our K-5 curriculum to include more civic action components, and I just submitted a grant for Dr. Homan's approval to go to the state to get a grant for civic engagement for K through 5. And we already piloted a student government, a school-wide student government at Pierce Elementary. That the results of that we presented this fall, Crystal Power and I, at the National Council for Social Studies, as a model of a way to increase civic engagement in elementary school, and we're hoping to bring that to the rest of the elementary schools. So yeah, we're really excited about this, and it just provides such a great application of knowledge, and I think kids are really into it, as you can see with some of the things that we talked about already.
Fantastic, thank you.
Sure.
First of all, I want to say that I've participated in a couple of civics days.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my God, it's wonderful. And what's really wonderful are the thoughtful questions that the students are asking. They're obviously well taught, so they have an idea of what is a good question, how to go about asking questions and finding answers. I'm a state and local guy. And it's easy to go and figure out what's going on in town. Just out of curiosity, do you go to the State House at all?
Funny you should ask. So just...
Microphone, please.
I think 2 years ago, we started doing trips to the State House. They're really accommodating at the Massachusetts State House, and they have, especially towards the end of the year, they have a lot of college students there to be tour guides. So you can basically go anytime you want with as many students as you want. And then we use the district buses to get us there. So it is a free field trip for all the students. And we have each designated time. We're starting to do it now in April before the Civics MCAS. It's a good time to review as well. So it's a really good field trip.
I've always loved that. When I was teaching, I brought my third graders to the State House, and I invited parents along to be chaperones. And it was amazing to me how many of the parents had never been to the State House. So it's really a wonderful experience, and it's great that we have this resource that's so close by.
My wife and I went on a date there this summer. So.
Very nice.
I love it. Thank you.
And the John Adams
So romantic.
Yes. Oh, Ms. Exton, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for all of this presentation, and especially the things that you highlighted at the beginning about what make this work successful for you. And I think you highlighted a lot of the opportunities that you all get to collaborate with each other. And so, I think it's just important to highlight that that's an important time for teachers to being able to work together. I wanted to just ask a little bit about the civics action projects. They come up in the spring, and we often get emails from students sharing their ideas and wanting to present and things like that. And I guess I'm wondering if you could talk briefly sort of about what are the goals or the tasks that the students are tasked with, such that we don't get put in a sort of uncomfortable position where some students get invited to present to school committee and some don't. And how can we be more helpful in providing sort of more equity across the students' presentations, and it not being every small group of 4 students sending us an email. We want to be helpful, but also make it manageable for all of us.
Okay, so first of all, thank you all very much, because in our experiences, every time they've reached out to somebody, especially here at the school committee or anything to do with the schools, your responses have been perfect. We want the students to be responded to as if they're any other community member reaching out. And in our experience, that's the types of responses that they're getting, and that's exactly what we'd like. It's not possible for everybody to present the way that they might want to present. So just for you to know from the background, what we have students do is a process. Sometimes, beyond our control, some students might jump the gun, and they might get ahead of where we're at in the schedule and start reaching out to people. Ideally, by the time they're reaching out to anybody through email, certainly through phone calls, they'll have already developed what their goal is. They'll have an ask in mind specifically, and it shouldn't necessarily be just to present at the school committee. I know from my experience too that some of the students have been redirected to subcommittees, and that has been really beneficial for the students in that regard. So if there's any other avenues or areas where the students could present more specifically, just giving them that recommendation too might be something that would be useful and helpful. To the best of our ability, we try to have the students research ahead of time to see what's going on and where they can go with things, but it depends on the initiative of the students to how much they can find out about that. And then we do want them to have that authentic experience of reaching out and hearing back directly rather than like filtering it through us. But we do certainly appreciate all the open feedback and the way that the committee and the community at large has really treated the students so maturely in that process.
Thank you. No, that context is helpful too.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that there's 6 steps that on the state rubric that students go through in order to achieve the Civic Action Project. And I think the most important step is the reflection afterwards. And it's not about whether they are successful at achieving a particular policy outcome. It's about what did they learn from the process. And part of that learning is that government can sometimes be complex and slow and frustrating, and you don't always get what you want. And learning that and how to maneuver through bureaucracies and government is part of the process. So the next time they go through, want to achieve a particular outcome, they know how to work the system, understand how to go about it, and marshal whatever resources they need in order to move things forward. So it may not be about getting the goal, but it's about moving it down the field kind of thing.
Great, thank you. No, that's really helpful context for when these come in this spring.
I will say over time, one of the things that I have noticed, I think this is really a credit to the curriculum and how you all have iterated it, is that they walk into a lot of those correspondences with us with more understanding of how, like who the school committee is and what they do, who the superintendent is and what I do, which is really impressive. I usually don't expect an 8th grader to fully understand that. And I do spend some time sometimes saying, well, here's how this works, and we could send it over here, and I imagine a lot of you end up doing some of the same thing, but it's very clear that they're very invested in their projects, that they've really thought about what it is they want to change in the world by the time they're getting to that project. And I've spent some time in some of the 8th grade classes, and it's evident in some of the simulations that you all do and the experiences that they have, that they're internalizing through sort of playing the role and understanding how government works. So I personally believe that, if you want to make change, you have to understand how your local government's operating and then how that operates on a national level as well. And I think they're getting an amazing opportunity for that from all of you, and the results show it. So keep on doing what you're doing. It's incredible. And I have to agree that I think those results make the case for some of the co-teaching work that has happened. You don't know which teacher's which when you walk in. Every kid is every teacher's student, and it's remarkable to see in action. So nice work, and thank you. And thanks for coming and sharing all the cool stuff you're doing.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to Civics Day next week.
Wait, there's more.
There's more.
We're not done yet.
Dr. Allison Happy, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So, sorry to take us back one step, but I was just looking at the result, and the state website is down for maintenance right now, so I can't look anything up. But I'm just wondering how much the results track, I mean, for like MLL and the special education and stuff, how much it tracks with English. Now, clearly, that's not the same for everything. I mean, the old cohort results suggest it's not that. But for those subgroups, I'm just wondering, can you look at that at all and say, it's not that they're not learning, it's not that they're not able to access the content, it's that English comprehension or reading comprehension and stuff is the problem.
Yeah, I did not look into that. I'd have to talk to my colleague to get those get that analysis. But yeah, we could get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Everyone good? Okay. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Appreciate it. Okay, Dr. Homan.
What do we have next? Calendars?
Calendars.
Okay. Ms. Diggins and I have collected comments on the calendar for 2026-27 and are bringing a proposal to hopefully finalize for all of you tonight. But we have a couple of changes that I just want to make sure that I highlight. So first, the changes that are on this one are in blue. I'm going to try very hard not to confuse folks as I walk through them. Most of the changes are to conference nights and to school committee nights. And so in November, we have a number of days that we're not in school, as well as all the conferences for all the levels, all the time. And also, we need to have school committee meetings. So we had originally conferences on, so we had originally had the school committee meeting voted on the 12th. We had moved that to accommodate some conferences on the 12th to the 5th. But the MASC conference is also on that weekend, that week of the 5th. So we moved the school committee meeting back to the original voted date. It was on the calendar we voted in May on the 5th, but we moved it back to the 12th. And put the conferences, there are a couple places where conferences for elementary and for other levels are on the same night. So I just want to flag that. But I don't imagine that would be an issue because parents sign up for a slot when they're signing up for their conferences. And so if you have a slot at one school, it's perfectly reasonable, I would imagine, that you have a slot at another school. I've done my own kids' conferences on the same day and managed to make it work. So I think that's okay, but if there's feedback on that, we're happy to hear it. So what has changed is that the elementary conferences are still November 4th and 5th. The evening conferences for elementary are also on the 5th. That is not teachers' preference. However, obviously we could not do it on the 10th. We moved it off of the 10th. And we thought it would be better to put these in one place and have that evening be on a Thursday, which is also the teacher's preference. So we're seeking a bit of a compromise there. AHS conferences would be, the early releases would be on November 17th and 18th. The evening conferences would be on the 5th of November and the 19th of November. And then the Gibbs and OMS evening meeting or evening conferences would be on November 19th, and the early release would be on the 18th. So those both overlap with the dates for AHS. Hopefully that makes sense, and we avoided all the school committee meetings. And then the other change was that we had placed elementary conferences in April. I believe that was on an older calendar. We had moved them to March for this year, but we never moved them to March on the 26-27 calendar, and so we moved them to March on this version of it. So those are on March 2, 3, and 4 instead of in April, and those are also avoiding a school committee meeting. We had on the original voted school committee list of meetings also some dates in January that when we then built the calendar and voted it because of conferences, we had moved around. I kept the move from May of 25 in this version of the calendar because of when we wanted the conferences to hit for the second round for the middle school that week of the 13th and 14th. So the school committee meetings are still on January 7th and 21st, and then there's a 2-week gap before the presentation of the budget would be around the 11th usually is when we do that. So I'm open to any comments, trying to think if there were any other major changes that were made. I think those were the primary ones. This is the year that we start ahead of Labor Day, and unfortunately is coming on the heels of a year where we had 4 snow days. And so we'll get started with staff on September 31st and 1st, and students would start on Wednesday, September 2nd, and be in class also on Thursday, the 3rd. All right.
Go ahead, Ms. Exton.
Well, I would like to hear from Ms. Keys about her thoughts about the conferences on the afternoon and evening of the same day. That seems like a lot.
I saw this just this afternoon, and I texted our elementary building reps and said, first of all, did this come from any of you? Like, did you request this? And what do you think of this? And the responses were, sounds overwhelming. That would be horrible. Didn't come from us. That's overwhelming. I agree. Absolutely not. So we have a teacher at Audison who blew out his vocal cords doing double day conferences like that once. It his voice has never recovered. It's a lot. I understand that November is really, really hard. But it's a lot to ask of people, especially where it's the next day as well, too. It's not like a double session one day and then you get kind of a break the next day. It's like you have to keep going.
The double session is the Thursday.
Okay, but still,
yeah,
3 days. Or 3 sessions in 2 days.
Ms. Exton?
So on the sheet of comments and notes and things, I don't know where this came from, but it talked about when they were on November 10th. It suggested moving them to the 12th or the 9th. I realize the 9th is a Monday. Teachers might not want to do evening conferences on a Monday either, but that would take it off of having it twice in one day. It was suggested by someone, and the 9th appears to be unavailable. So, I don't know how this conversation can happen, but
I think that was one of the ones that we offered, wasn't it?
Wait, so what I do not always know is what is more important. Is doing the evenings on a Thursday when you only have to get through Friday more important, or is not doing both stacked on top of one another more important? And my bet is there are different answers from different people on that question.
There probably are, but we had said it can't be the 10th, ideally the 12th, if not possible, then the 9th.
Okay.
So.
Was that in these comments, Liz?
Yeah.
I didn't give you comments in that. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that landed. In there,
I think they got. Yeah, I think they got consolidated.
They might have,
because a lot of these things are things I brought up.
Okay, we could move.
Especially where there's like a day off in the middle of the week. Like it's not like you're starting 5 straight days of teaching.
I need to check that against, are any holidays that hits, right? I guess we're through the Jewish holidays at that point. Okay.
Ms. Exton, do you want any more questions?
No.
No? Okay. Dr. Ellison-Amp and then Ms. Davick.
So I'm trying to find the email that we were sent earlier this week about dates and figuring out timing for snow days. Not thinking about this year, but maybe we didn't. I don't know. I read it somewhere about how snow days can be made up. Maybe it was MASC. But my point is that the one of the things it mentioned was that graduation can't be more than 12 days before the official end of school. And that includes snow days. And I'm just looking at the way this is timed right now, that would put, if we have more than 2 snow days, then we would be in violation of that unless we maybe had the high school catch up a day somewhere so that they would have a
That's a
rate.
good catch, thank you.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know how to fix it, and I don't know if it's something worth fixing. I'm not sure it's something we've looked at before. It was just the coincidence of reading this and then looking at the calendar.
Yeah, on that point, I think if you look at our calendars for past years, we probably, 9 out of 10 times don't meet that requirement. I don't know that it's been enforced, but I'm not sure I would prioritize that.
I'll take a look at the regulation.
It is in the regulation, but it's not something that we've been following.
You said that? Did you have any? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
Okay, so the other question I had, and I don't know.
Ms. Gittleson is online, so I just want to make sure I'm not seeing her. Did she have any questions? Is she any hands raised online?
I'm okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So we would move the elementary conferences in November to the 9th. We would double check AHS graduation date, see if there's any flexibility on that, keeping that regulation in mind. Those are minor enough that I feel like the committee could vote it for us to amend and update tomorrow.
Dr. Harmon, you could move the early release to Monday if you didn't want to make a Monday night. If the doubled up day was Thursday, I don't know if that makes a difference, but.
Say more. I don't think I'm
The
following.
afternoon conferences could be on Monday the 9th, and the evening could stay on Thursday the 5th, and then you wouldn't have 2 on one day.
Oh, I see what you mean. Put the afternoon round on
Like, we can't
the
move one,
Monday.
so a Wednesday can't be moved, but a Thursday could be moved. Or is that more chaos? Well, they're both are
What
chaos.
I wonder is families keeping track of the early releases, but
It also would avoid 2 early release days in a row.
on a day where there's also a no school day, on a week when there's also a no school day. I don't know, is it better to consolidate the crazy week, or is it better to spread it out over 2 weeks?
I mean, I would keep it all that first week, half day, but that's just me, that's me.
Okay.
I'm 1-7.
But you're in elementary.
Okay. Had we put anything about school committee nights in?
It's on there, yeah.
Like, for some reason, it didn't download for one meeting for me. It's probably a me thing. One other thing that the committee could consider to help us alleviate the conference back and forth would be to put school committee on a different night of the week. We do not have as many evening events typically on Mondays and Tuesdays as we do on Thursdays. For a whole host of reasons, that's true of concerts, that's true of a lot of things, because it helps teachers coordinate the logistics of an event if they have part of the week to work on that. So I don't know if there is appetite for that. I am frankly conflicted about it myself, honestly. But I thought we would raise it. I did talk to some colleagues who have school committee meetings on Mondays and Tuesdays and shared some of the benefits of that with me. So if there's no appetite for that, I am happy to drop it and continue to sort through these things. But if there is, I wanted to raise the question about whether that's something that the committee would be interested in looking at.
Mondays would be difficult for us because of town meeting Monday, Wednesday, and we'd be conflicting
In April,
with the
yes.
select board. When I first came on the committee, we did Tuesdays. I mean, Mr. Thielman has talked about building committee conflicts on Tuesdays. But,
Well, but that's, yeah, that's a movable thing. Yeah.
But that's the policy thing, you know, the date that we meet is in the policy, so we'd have to go.
We would have to go
Yeah.
to subcommittee and talk about it. but-
Dr. Essen?
Well, do we want to talk about it, or do we want to have policy bring it up?
I think we should talk about it, just to
Okay.
get, I think we should get input of the
So-
committee.
When I started, it was on Tuesdays, and then we moved to Thursdays, and I felt it went smoother. Also for people who are working, it's much easier to have a late night and then just have one more day.
That's why I'm torn on it.
Right.
But it's also
No.
why I understand why the teachers struggle with like a Monday late night, so.
Right, but our late nights can be much later than a conference late night. So, anyway, so I would prefer that we stay on Thursday, but.
I would prefer to stay on Thursday also for the reasons that other people have already mentioned.
I would be open to a Monday, just because it's, as we've learned, it's the night with this least amount of school activities taking place. And it would be easier, I think, for planning. And I just think it would, and there are districts, or there are school committees that meet on Monday nights. In terms of town meeting, sometimes it's hard to meet at all during town meeting because we're exhausted. And I wish some of our meetings didn't take place at all during that time. But you can move it, you can move to a different night during town meeting weeks rather. It's 4 weeks, there's 2 meetings of the school committee, you can move it to a different night. So it's a possibility, it's open, but if there's, I'm only one person here. I always like to provide, inconvenience as few district activities as possible. That's where I would land.
Can
All
I
right.
can I just add one more?
Yeah.
Based on the conversation we had at the last meeting about, I don't know, building administrators feeling like they couldn't plan things on any Thursdays, I went through this current calendar that was proposed and counted all of the Thursdays that don't have a Friday off the next day, of which there are 35, and 18 of them are available for other events. So it's more than, very small, more than 50% of the Thursdays are available for the school to do activities. I recognize it would be all 35 if we moved the meetings, but it's not available to be for administrators and programming to be scheduling.
And I just want to be very clear that I have not messaged otherwise. I have not asked them not to hit those other Thursday nights or said avoid Thursday nights altogether in any way, and I'm not quite sure where that notion is coming from.
Just, as part of the conversation, I just want to put that piece out there.
All right, moving right along.
Okay, wait, what am I doing?
Oh.
So I'm going to make these couple of changes. I'm going to move those evening conferences to the 9th. Check the graduation date with Dr. Janger and see if we want to move the graduation hat down a week. And anything else? And is it possible for us to vote and post, or would we like to bring it back? Is this, I forget where we were with this, if we had done an official first read at the last meeting. We had discussed it.
Do you want to put the calendars amended tonight, or do you want to see it all cleaned up next week?
I'll move approval pending evening elementary conferences on November 9th and hearing back from Dr. Homan and Dr. Janger about the graduation.
Okay. So we'll make that motion. It means it comes back to us anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can update you on the final one.
Yeah, okay. So it's a move approval of everything we talked about just now, with the understanding that it's coming back to us for review on April 9th. That's basically what you're saying. Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, we have to do a roll call. I'm sorry. Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
Ms. Sadat?
Yes.
Ms. Exton?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Allison Ampe?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay.
Okay.
Have we, anything on this one?
Nope.
The next is just a thank you. So Just want to acknowledge the retiring school committee members.
What am I doing?
We're thanking people. Go ahead.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
Well, I wanted to say thank you to Ms. Sadat for stepping in to her interim role in the school committee back, I think it was in November. It's a very challenging role to step into, especially on short notice and for a short amount of time. And I have very much appreciated your thoughtful questions, all of the work that has gone into this very challenging budget season. And I just wanted to thank you for all of the time that the short time that you spent with us, but it was thoughtful and meaningful, and I think it was we appreciate the work that you did for us. Thank you.
I just want to echo that. It was great to have you come on. It was also great to have someone come on with all of your knowledge and experience and to step up in a pinch to keep us going. So, and you've been great at adding input and ideas that we need. So thank you.
I want to say thank you also for being fantastic colleagues, having faith in me and selecting me to take on this role. I've learned a lot and have grown a huge appreciation for what the school committee does, what our superintendent and her team do, a little bit more insight into all of the things that happen at the various schools. So it's been a fantastic experience, and I'm excited to see somebody take on the role and continue this important work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We did not work together for very long, but we worked on some of the hardest stuff that I've ever done in my superintendency together. So I want to thank you for your thoughtful questions and for the work that we got to do together and for your advocacy, particularly for our multilingual families and our families who have been living through some uncertain times. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much. Superintendent schools.
Okay. In your materials for tonight, hold on, I will pull these up, are goals, or some proposed goals that I'm happy to make adjustments to that would be for evaluation in November, and that would be after we presented outcomes in November. And the way these are a little different from what we've done in the past is that typically around January, after following the evaluation, I would propose some new goals on sort of an altered cycle that would be sort of drawn from the goals for the year that we were currently in, but maybe would add a little bit more because the cycle was about 6 months removed from the school year cycle. So what this does is collapse those two cycles into one goal cycle. It means that we're writing fewer goals and aligning the goals that are associated with my evaluation directly with the district goals. So these are taken from the district goals. For this school year, when we developed the district goals, we made them as concise as possible. There are 4 goals for the 4 priorities, and then action steps, 3 action steps at least for each one of the 4 priorities. And there's outcome measures articulated for each of those. This chooses one of the action steps. So my student learning goals coming from priority 1, which is all teaching and learning. And it chooses one of the action steps, the one specific to the DCAP and MTSS plan, the professional development that Dr. Ford Walker and I worked on this year. The professional practice goal comes from priority 2. In this case, it is focused on implementing the terms of our collective bargaining agreements that call for supportive onboarding and professional learning, particularly for paraprofessionals and clerical staff, which my member of my office is directly overseeing. And then the 2 district improvement goals are coming from priorities 3 and 4. And so from priority 3 for district improvement goal 1 is focused on the operational functions of the district, ensuring accountability and connections between offices, particularly finance, human resources, and payroll, and building that long-term system sustainability, which I think will be very important as we're facing significant reductions in central office. We need to make sure that those systems are humming along and that people understand them and that there's some redundancy. And then for priority 4, which is family and community engagement, There is a specific focus on priority aligned partnerships with town and parent organizations and taking a look at our financial models for community-facing program, including revisions to rental formulas for our after-school programs, establishment of expectations for school fees, and continuing to work on our wait lists in our Arlington after-school programs. And for all of these goals, there are specifically outcomes and like artifacts that could be presented as evidence of progress, outcomes being specific data relevant to students, which can sometimes be a little indirect for a sort of large-scale district goal, which is why we also include some of the evidence markers that would show you that this was accomplished. So we discussed these in CIAA. I defer to any of your colleagues on CIAA if they want to talk about our discussion there. And I'm looking for approval or first read or whatever the committee wishes.
Can I just,
Ms. Exton, go ahead. And then
so these goals were part of a larger discussion around the timing, aligning the timing of the goals to more match what the teachers have. And so we're doing this to sort of backfill 25, 26. And so we'll be seeing another set of goals the end of May-ish that will carry the superintendent through 26, 27, and we would still do the evaluation piece in that November time period. But we're going to get the goals in May so that they sort of align with teaching.
So to clarify, the goals that we're looking at right now, we're going to cover through June 30th, 2026. We're going to evaluate those in October, November when we do. Okay. So we should just approve them tonight. I don't think there's a need for any more discussion. I mean, there's a need for discussion. I don't mean that. There's not a need for first or second reading. So does anyone have any comments or feedback or direction you want to give on the goals that the superintendent presented that were vetted by the curriculum committee?
And I should have said that. They were recommended by the CIA to come to this.
Yeah, so they were vetted and recommended, right word. Any comments? Okay, so the next thing is a motion to approve the superintendent's goals as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call. Ms. Gittleson.
Yes.
Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Dr. Allison Ampe.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, good. Superintendent's update. Do you have anything else to say about the goal?
Nope.
Superintendent's update.
All right, good evening, everybody. I have a couple of fun things to share to get us started. So last week, Arlington High School alumna Jasper Zelmer, who was an intern in my office a couple of years ago. She is currently a sophomore at Tufts University. Joined me and a number of administrators who are members of the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents at their annual Women's Educational Leadership Conference. And we were focused on mentorship, and she and I were included in a panel that day, and she got to stand up and talk about all of the incredible mentorship opportunities that she's had in Arlington Public Schools. We talked about the relationship that we have had. She worked on the HGI committee. She later was, like I said, an intern in my office and had worked with us on some of the strategic planning work that we had done in the district. When she was an intern in my office, she had helped me develop a student advisory council that also participated in some of the working groups that we had that first year of the strategic plan implementation. And she is very interested in going into education now and is looking into higher ed opportunities. And so it was great to hear her talk about sort of the different mentors and types of mentorship that she had experienced when she was here in high school and how that has translated into her development as an adult now that she has graduated and is off thinking about her future career. So that was a lot of fun. Also, last week, I stopped by Stratton and was very excited to see a very packed cafeteria full of first grade parents. They were taking part in the orientation that is part of our math morning. So if you remember when our elementary school colleagues were here, Bishop talked about math mornings that they've done for quite a while with their coach, Emily Veeder, who's also the sort of leader for the math coaches right now. And this is an initiative that she had started a long time ago, but it has gained some traction, and we've had them at several schools this year. Pierce had one, it was either this week or just last week, and I believe Brackett is having one next week. So a number of schools have tried this out. They do it by grade level, and they talk with the families at the beginning about the different standards that they cover in that grade level, the different ways that they go about teaching math, and sort of the developmental pieces of the curriculum that they're watching for and helping the students develop. And then they go into the classroom and they play math games with their students, which is very sweet and fun. And they really get to see sort of the math learning in action. So it's an awesome initiative. I think the committee had asked about having it spread a little bit so that more families could experience it, and I'm pleased to report that it is in fact spreading, and it is very well attended. A couple of updates for Pierce principal. I want to say congratulations to Michael Vanderlane Amaral, who will be the new principal of Pierce Elementary School next school year. He has served as the Brackett assistant principal for the past, actually this is his third year, but 2 full years, and this year has contributed to a lot of district-wide committees, including the caseload committee has been focused on learning more about special education specifically this year in his practice. This was something that he didn't know a lot about, and he has specifically wanted to go learn more about. He has a background in the performing arts, specifically music, and he's currently working on his doctorate. And we're very excited to have him stepping in as the Pierce principal. The feedback was that he was warm and authentic and very knowledgeable about some of the curricular work we've been doing in the district, and that he would be a great fit for the Pierce school. Our Pierce interim principal has let us know that she will be stepping into a new position in another district in May and June of this year, so we're working on figuring out an interim plan for Pierce. That's new news as of this week, but I just wanted to take a quick moment to wish best wishes and good luck to interim principal Greiner. Ms. Greiner has served APS for 18 years, and she has done so in some of the toughest roles in a school district, in a public school system. She's been a special educator, a team chair, special education coordinator, an assistant principal, and a principal in the Arlington Public Schools, and has served our schools very well. And so we wish her the best of luck, and we will miss her very much. Enrollments and projections are both provided in your materials for tonight. The projection sheet is it's pulling both matriculation and incoming registration data. So it rolls the students forward into the next year. If we get told that they are not coming back or that they're moving, then we enter a withdrawal and they won't be included in those data. And it also includes incoming students' registration data. So all of our new enrollments in other grades are also included in that tally. So you can see what that projection looks like for the following year. Right now, for kindergarten, we have, it's calculating all possible. It's grabbing that column of all possible enrollments, and it's calculating that into the total. And you'll notice that we are even on next year. And that is because we have 49 new enrollments in grades other than kindergarten. 31 of them are at Arlington High School. So that class is going to be even bigger than the gigantic class that is already headed up into 9th grade. And we're working on the AHS schedule now to make sure that that's going to be manageable with the resources. But it does look likely that we'll pull that one reserve that we have in the yes override budget, or 0.4 in the no override budget, and I'll keep everybody posted on what the need might be there. We are going to have some people leave. We're going to have some folks move who we don't know about yet and aren't entered into the system, so we have to keep that in mind. But we also have kindergartners who haven't enrolled yet, so we have to keep that in mind too. And then finally, I wanted to provide, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, and just have not found the capacity to do so. But I would like to start providing, especially as we think about welcoming a new member onto the committee, some periodic check-ins on some of our strategic plan metrics. We do routinely dig back into our data. And around this time of year, because we're about to head into MCAS, this is why I chose chronic absenteeism. When we're about to head into MCAS, we're starting to think about attendance because we want to make sure everybody's present when we do MCAS, and we start to message, what are the dates, and And around this time, and then also in the fall, we'll pull the absenteeism data and see if there are students sort of right on the cusp who we could really focus on as we come out of flu season, making sure their attendance is improving throughout the year. So my goal is to do these occasional check-ins, and tonight I'm going to focus on chronic absenteeism. But if there are specific things that you'd be interested in hearing more about, or even just hearing like how the data gets calculated by the state or how we go about checking in on some things, just let me know, and I'm happy to include it in one of these checkups every few meetings or so. So first, some definitions. When we talk about chronic absenteeism, this is a state-designated term. It technically means that a student has missed 10% or more of the school year or 18 days of school. That's the state's bar for chronic absenteeism. The relationship between the achievement gap and chronic absenteeism is essentially that if you are not here, you cannot learn. So studies have shown repeatedly that achievement and attendance are significantly correlated with one another. If you have an opportunity gap in the form of not being present at school, then that's going to lead ultimately to an achievement gap as well. And then how do we know if an absenteeism gap exists or is closing? The way that we would determine that is to look at the gap in a single year and look at the absolute change for the target group versus the absolute change for the aggregate group. And I'm going to explain what that means and show you an example in a minute. And we also want both groups trending in the same direction. This is a little different than an achievement gap, because in an achievement gap, you have your aggregate or non-target group that is usually higher than the target group, because they wouldn't be the group you're paying attention to if the achievement wasn't lower. And what you want to see is that that target group is accelerating the learning at a faster rate, but that all groups are still going up, right? So you're looking for a slant that's got a little less slope to it for the non-target group and a slant with a lot of slope to it for the target group. In this case, chronic absenteeism is a metric you want to see go down. So you're actually looking for the opposite. So the target group is probably going to have a higher bar, they're going to have a higher line, and you want to see that decelerating faster than the non-target group. So I'll show you a couple examples of what that might look like. But before we do that, just a quick history of chronic absenteeism data, because it's a little hard to read the graphs because of some things that the state did in their accountability measures across the pandemic period. So in 2021, the state definition of chronic absenteeism was set to 20% because of the significant attendance issues that students encountered during the pandemic. So that was the 2020-21 year, the pandemic year, when learning was so disrupted and things were hybrid. So if you look at 2021 on a lot of the data, it'll actually look like we rocked at attendance that year, but we didn't. It's because the state moved the bar to 20%. So we had less chronic absenteeism because you weren't counted as chronically absent unless you had missed 36 days of school, which is a lot of school. But then in 2022, on almost every single graph you look at across the state, you see a big jump in chronic absenteeism. And that's because in 2022, the state returned the accountability metric to 10%. So we were back to baseline. And the great thing about that for Arlington is that they reestablished a baseline in 2022 for post-pandemic recovery of attendance. And they did that right before we implemented the strategic plan. In 2022, we were talking about the strategic plan, and then in 22-23, we actually started doing it. And so it's a great baseline for us because it's the year prior to the start of the strategic plan. It's right after the pandemic. So as a way of gauging pandemic recovery, we're using 2022 as our starting point, and going to 2025, 26. We won't have 26 data quite yet, but I'll show you a little bit of where we are in the 26 data. So if we're going to talk about focal groups and improving attendance for focal groups, what we said in the strategic plan was that we were going to monitor and track gaps not only for achievement, but also in areas of attendance, students and families and experiences and other metrics. So here's how we're doing on some of that. Our multilingual learners absenteeism gap is the one that, in digging into some of these data, we should definitely take a look at. What you want to see here, and I'm going to point actually down here because this is a good example for our students with disabilities, is that this absolute difference for the focal group, that this number is higher than the absolute difference for the aggregate or non-target group. In this case, it's aggregate because this is how the state reports it. I don't have a state report for students with disabilities, students without disabilities. I only have a state report for all students, students with disabilities. So in this case, it's an aggregate. So the aggregate absolute difference should be lower, and the focal group difference should be higher, and that tells you that there's less of a gap for those students, okay? So if you look at the numbers here, for all students in 2022, 13.5% of them were chronically absent. By 2025, we were at 8.8%. For students with disabilities, we were at 23.4% and 17.5%. So that difference is greater. That means more of that gap closed between the starting point and where we are now. And there's also a closure for all students, but it's not as much, so that's not as fast of a deceleration. You could see it in the graph too, but it's a little bit harder to see. For our multilingual learners, we don't quite have the same trend. Actually, we really don't have the same trend at all. We actually have a widening gap for our multilingual learners, and I think there are a number of reasons why that could be. It will take a deep dive into kind of what the profiles of those students are, what other languages they speak, can tell us a little bit about what might be driving some of the absenteeism. One thing I will say is that during the pandemic, one of the things that drove absenteeism up was the fact that there were parents were weighing the threat of lack of opportunity through education and the threat of safety. And when you're weighing those two things, that's an almost impossible decision for a parent. But physical safety will frequently win in that deliberation. And we have seen a pretty significant widening of that gap in the last couple of years, and we've heard from families that sometimes that has to do with worry about safety, about their students feeling safe at school, getting to school, stuff like that. However, that gap started widening before that, and I think that could have to do with the profile of our language learners, or when they're joining us. If they join with less English language development, then it's possible that you could have some motivation challenges coming to school because it's hard, because it's cognitively challenging and it's emotionally challenging too. So, but this is something worth looking into and something that we're going to dig into because we don't see this number being higher than this number, and it should be. It also tells us that the strategies we're using, despite giving a lot of resources to our multilingual learners that weren't there in 2022, that we're not necessarily seeing this impact attendance much. And so maybe we should inquire about why. And work on some strategies with our teachers and our administrators for what we might want to do about that. So those are two highlights and some things that this highlighted that we want to work on. And then I also wanted to show you that we're tracking this in real time. So this is from our OA dashboards, and this year's attendance rate is for all students right here, is higher than it was at this exact moment for the last 2 years. So that's great. Also, we're up above this 95% mark for all students, so that's great because that's sort of the goal the state sets for student attendance. When you look at our focal groups, we're not at that 95% mark, but we're getting closer and closer as the years go on. So if you look at school year 23-24 for students with disabilities, we were at 93.3, now we're at 93.8. Whether or not it's a significant change and will hold through the year, we're going to find out, but we're in a positive position for all of our focal groups relative to where they've been for the last 2 years at exactly this time. And so that snapshot's really helpful because it tells us where we are, not just where we are, but where we are relative to where we were on this date last school year. And so these dashboards are immensely helpful. All of our administrators have access to this. They can look at it any day, and they can look up any one student and see exactly how many absences they have. If we have a student who's right on the edge of tipping into chronic absenteeism, then we can think about what interventions we want to do. What I would name as well is that we have built into our SST processes now, like interventions that we can do for attendance, and we also we'll talk a lot about student attendance in some SST meetings, and we've had teachers bring students forward through SST process because they're worried about things like attendance and what the impact might be on that student's ability to access their education. So these tools are immensely helpful for some of that. We're excited to have them and have them working well and updating every night, and we will continue to use them and track them. And I sent some data off to principals this week that helped flag for them where they might have students who it would be worth tracking and looking at and making sure that as we head into spring, we don't get more absences and tip into chronic absenteeism. So that's our strategic plan checkup on chronic absenteeism. I'm happy to take any questions, and if there are any other topics that folks would like to hear, please feel free to drop them in my inbox at some point.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing that data. I think the point you raised about the closing of gaps isn't necessarily being seen across most of the focal groups is an important one. Two questions. Is the district interested in looking at comparable school districts and maybe that are doing this slightly better than us, that have had more success with closing those gaps?
Well, so actually we're closing the gap for every focal group except our multilingual learners. So it's just
for that group.
That one group,
Yeah.
we have not done that for, but the state has managed to. And so we should ask that question.
Yeah.
Like, who has figured this out, particularly for multilingual learners when it comes to absenteeism? And what resources would we maybe need to add or make more accessible, such as translation or interpretation, that might help with some of this? One strategy that I was thinking about for next year in particular was working with our ML PAC, because we have an ML PAC established. They are meeting regularly. I'm actually going to see them next week or the week after that, and working together with them, with the ML parent community, to understand what some of the challenges or barriers are to attendance might be a great starting point. And I know other districts have done that once they get an ML PAC that's well established. But talking to colleagues who have a larger ML population would be another good place to look.
No, that's great. And then the very related question is there kind of publicly available articles, or has somebody ever studied this to find things that do work in kind of doing that well for multilingual learners?
This particular challenge is one of the hardest to tackle because the reasons why a student might not be making it to school varies so dramatically. So, and one of the other things about chronic absenteeism that's unique is that school districts end up, there are sort of unintended consequences of strategic moves. So for example, if we keep more students who are medically complex and have like things that are just part of their lives, but that need to be accommodated. Sometimes if you build programs around that and you build the resources in, which we've done a lot of over the last few years, what also comes with that is more absence maybe. And that just comes with the territory. And that's okay, right? It's the same thing as with multilingual learners. If you have more multilingual learners and there's a barrier to access to a test because it's highly literacy dependent, then you might see that the scores are down, and that's just part of the landscape. And so the more we do some things, the more challenges we might end up with in another area. But the state has had a huge effort around chronic absenteeism over the last few years because the pandemic so dramatically shifted people's sort of relationship to attendance at school. And they've had a number of resources that they've shared out with us that we have used to send out the letters that we send every year. One of the challenges we also have is that things like, for every family, it could be really different. It could be, I didn't take him to school today because I had to go to work at a particular time and I wasn't going to be able to get off work to get them, and they don't have after school. And so in those cases, we've done things like partner with our after school program to provide a scholarship if it's a financial challenge so that they can have after school, because it means they're going to come to school. And that's our primary goal. And so those strategies can be really helpful. Having some dollars set aside for tuition scholarships for after school on days where it's a hurdle for the parent. Transportation is a big one. We're not obligated to transport a family, but if it means their kid is going to come to school, can we add it to a route? Maybe. And so we've worked directly with the transportation department, and we make sure that we establish that there is for sure a need, and then we might be able to accommodate something that will ensure that the student is able to get to school. So there are a number of things we can do. It's a matter of making sure that we fully understand what the family's obstacle is. And so we really rely on the school teams. Our social workers are critical to these efforts because they'll get to know a family. They'll share with the administration. If we could do something with this, maybe that would help. We've done open enrollments. We've actually used that policy to help with attendance. If we think that the relationship is a problem with the school, sometimes things just can't be mended, and so it'll be better somewhere else, and that's an attendance challenge, and so we move, and things work out. Sometimes we've used that same mechanism because of proximity to another school. That's easier. So, but it's like a investigation for every single one. And that can be taxing when you have so much absenteeism. It's starting to become more manageable as our numbers have improved. And when you only have, a small group that you have to follow up on, that's easier than if it's half the school that you're trying to track down, so.
Mr. Schlickman.
Two things. For one, just in terms of looking at the MLs, different districts have different demographics, and culturally and economically, they will respond differently to school attendance. Because I know the ML population in Arlington is very different than in Lowell, where I worked for 19 years. So even within racial ethnic groups, you have differences which make comparisons a bit difficult to do. One thing that we had to work through a lot in Lowell and try to find solutions for is people who went back to their home countries for 3 weeks in the middle of the year, which really spiked our chronic absenteeism. The other question I have is that you mentioned there are 31 new enrollments at Arlington High School. Are these mostly, or all ninth grade, or?
Almost all of them are ninth graders, yes.
Yeah, I think the one criticism I heard from parents last year who were in that cohort is that the district was very good at welcoming the new kindergartners. The district was very good at welcoming the Addison students into the high school, but there really wasn't anything structural for the students who were coming in new to ninth grade. And I think that that's something we really need to take a look at and make sure that the incoming ninth graders who are coming from elsewhere have the same kind of orientation and opportunity that we'd expect of, at the very least, of the students coming from the Addison. They probably need a little more because they're new to the district.
That's a good point. I'll talk to Dr. Jenger about how to sort of because they do a lot with the incoming ninth graders, and they work directly with Addison to make sure all that gets messaged. But I think you're right that when we have new families coming in, doing a repeat over the summer would be a good idea, so I'll talk.
Because I heard a couple of parents last year say, what about us? And I think that that was a valid point.
Thank you.
Mr. Cardin.
Thank you. So yes, I'd love to hear more about the strategic plan initiatives, perhaps in a more structured way about, where we are. I'm not sure when the last time we sort of got that report about where we are on each of the initiatives. Was it this year or the end of last year? I don't know. But tying back to the strategic plan, there actually isn't a chronic absenteeism measure. The outcome measure is about getting intervention and support implemented within 2 weeks. Is that something that we're still measuring?
So we had put that was how we put the outcome. I think it was in priority 1.
It's under MTSS.
Yeah, in the MTSS initiative. And so I had gone looking to see what metrics we had actually articulated for chronic absenteeism at the time. And what I wonder is whether because the state had been moving that line around, it was hard to determine a benchmark at the time. Because when I read then what we had put in as the metric, that's an almost impossible one to try to track at the school level.
Okay.
It's not how I would write it now, but it is how we put it in there before. I can certainly gather strategies that schools are using to put an intervention in place. They're per policy expected to be following up with the family when they hit certain absence benchmarks that are in the handbook. And I know the principals at the time had found it exceptionally difficult to do so because they had so many chronically absent students. They've since built in at least the notification letters to be more automated at the secondary level. And we are also, the first thing we needed to do in the strategic plan was make sure we were actually entering attendance correctly. Because one of the things we found when we went backwards and looked at attendance was that was not consistent. That was not a consistent practice. So when a student was marked tardy at the elementary level was not consistent across the schools. when daily attendance was entered at the secondary level was not necessarily consistent across the schools. Whether or not we took period attendance was not consistent at secondary level across the schools. So we didn't really trust the data we had. So we started there. And I think now tracking the attendance data that we're held accountable to by the state is the better approach and is probably how we would revise that strategy in the plan. But I'm going to talk to Dr. Ford Walker about sort of how we're making sure that the interventions people are pulling are being done in a timely manner, and how we might be able to monitor the school's strategies for intervening so that we don't end up in a place where you have a student who is tipped far over that 18 mark before we've noticed and done something about it, which shouldn't happen now, but volume could create a situation where that happens, and so we need to make sure the administrators are using the tools they have available to them at this point.
Thank you.
It feels like something we should be able to track.
The intervention?
Yeah, I mean, whether we've done an intervention or at least notification within a certain period. I mean,
Notification we could pull. It's not hooked up to a data system that will track it. So for like open architects, that's a send of information that is housed in the system, but we can't send that like yes there's not like a field that yes a notification went home. There's just the field that yes there was an absence and we know a notification went because it's automated. So then if a separate notification goes home, like if dean sends an email, we don't have an expectation right now, or if a dean picks up the phone and calls a parent, we don't have an expectation they're entering that as an intervention for every single action that they take. There are features in a couple of our systems that would allow us to do that, to create action plans to track that. It is a new set of expectations on top of what is already a lot of record keeping compliance, like entering into PowerSchool and collection from the state. So we're right now focused on continuing to remind everybody to use the dashboards, talking with the administration about what tools are available to them, making sure everybody's clear about the expectations and the policies that exist in the handbooks, and implementing those, finding out what resources they might need to make sure that happens. But we don't ask them to do the thing and enter that they did the thing. And I wouldn't want to, because it will create a system that is so cumbersome that we may or may not be able to even rely on the data. Now, if there is an SST, there is a tracking process, there is an agenda, there is a folder. That all exists, but I'd have to maybe find the right AI agent to dump all of that into, to spit out statistics that we would know were accurate and that we could test. And we have not yet invested in an AI agent that is capable of doing that. So, and I, have reservations about doing that. So it's something we can research, but it is not something we have the technical capacity or human capacity to do right now. There are SST processes, there are expectations around that. We have abilities to check in on it and to drop into it, but we can't collect massive data sets on it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say about MLLs is that in some parts of the Commonwealth, MLLs aren't going to school because of immigration enforcement issues. I'm not sure that's an issue here in Arlington, but it is in other parts of the Commonwealth. So, okay. What's that?
So she said safety. She was trying to be polite.
I'm done with that. Just so we're clear. Okay, I'm done with polite on that issue. Okay, so now we are done with your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so we move to the consent agenda. We have 2 items to approve on the consent agenda. School committee meeting minutes, February 12, 2026, warrant number 26223, dated March 17, 2026, for $901.86.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Exton, second by
Second.
Ms. Sadat. We're going to do a roll call. Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
That's a yes. Ms. Sadat?
Yes.
Ms. Exton?
Yes.
Mr. Carden?
Yes.
Dr. Allison Ampe?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. It's unanimous. Okay. Subcommittee liaison reports. Budget, Dr. Allison Ampe.
I guess we did finance committee since the last, well, yes, okay, so.
We did the finance committee.
I'm sorry, I'm getting
There's
confused
news
with
report. Go
time.
ahead.
Yes, okay, so the superintendent and Mr. Schweitzer did an excellent job presenting to the finance committee and answering their numerous questions, and the ultimate vote came out 19-1, which we were very pleased with. And there's no budget meetings scheduled at this point.
One additional budget item, if I could.
Yes.
The Mass House passed the governor's supplemental budget, which includes $150 million for circuit breaker, which I believe will give us another $75,000. Still has to go to the Senate, but that's good news for us.
All right.
Great.
Thank you. Community relations.
Nothing to report.
Curriculum instruction, assessment, and accountability.
We met last Tuesday to discuss the superintendent's goals and the timeline for the upcoming process. So I shared a little bit about that. So the goals will come in May, June for this 26-27 school year. Outcomes will come in October, and then the school committee will do the evaluation in November. We also talked about having Ms. Diggins help us creating for us a form so that the information that we have to put into the superintendent evaluation is just easier for us to put in and easier for the chair to then consolidate into a report. So that was sort of where we ended with the discussion on the actual evaluation document.
This year, the chair did that with the support of Ms. Diggins, just so we're transparent here.
I think, just looking at them, yeah, I think that's we voted on the goals this evening.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Exton? Facilities, no report. Policies and procedures. Mr. Schlickman, you have a second read.
I have a second read in GBEBD. The question is, because it was Ms. Exton who wanted us to go and look at this further, we have basically two options. One would be to accept this on second read and make it policy, or table this and try again with the new committee in April. And I will leave that decision to which motion to make to Ms. Exton.
Okay. So just so that people understand what's happening, there was a line in here about teachers not being able to request tissues and crayons, which didn't make sense to me. So I looked at some other policies from other districts and have proposed new language where teachers may solicit consumables. In looking at this policy and doing that work, there's a lot happening here around crowdfunding, but then Amazon wish lists to me are not crowdfunding. It's not a sort of consolidation of funds. It's people buy individual items. So I'm happy to move this forward right now with the language that I've proposed, because it fulfills my initial concern. I do think at some point policies and procedures should look at the whole thing and consider where Amazon wish lists land, because I don't see them as crowdfunding, and I know it was written to address some other issues. So I will make a motion to approve this policy, GBEBD, as written.
As written, you're not making an amendment, right?
Oh, well, I guess as I've amended it.
As you've amended it, okay, thank you.
Second.
So a motion to approve policy GBEBD as amended by Ms. Exton, second by Mr. Carden. Discussion. Mr. Schlickman, you okay with your?
I'm fine with this.
Okay, great. Okay.
Absolutely. I extended the opportunity for her to work with it, and I'm willing to go where she wants to go with it. So I'm a yes vote.
Okay. Oh, I like that word.
Yes.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we have no further discussion. We're going to do a roll call. Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
Ms. Sadat?
Yes.
Ms. Exton?
Yes.
Mr. Carden?
Yes.
Dr. Allison Ampe?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. That is unanimous. Arlington High School Building Committee, no report. We have a meeting coming up on April 7th, I think. Liaison reports, announcements, future agenda items. Probably not necessary. Okay, we're going to move to executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. We'll also review executive session minutes.
Which is under exception 7 of the, yeah.
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Schlickman. So I need a motion.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Schlickman, second by
Second.
Ms. Exton. We're going to do a roll call. Good night, Ms. Keys. Thank you. Ms. Gittleson.
Yes.
Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Dr. Allison Ampe.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.